Singularity, achieving digital immortality. Windows boot up.
Hello mortals.
Hi.
What if I told you that during your lifetime, the world will change more than it did in the entire history of mankind combined?
I believe that.
But first, great thanks to our patron, SHOUTOUT, for making
go.
this video possible.
Let's go, Nikki.
The first tools created by humans date to roughly 5 million years ago.
I love the music.
4 million years later and humanity discovered fire. In between not much was happening. Hunt, eat, sleep, reproduce.
True.
The first settlements, the wheel,
We still do that
the
now.
use of iron, the first written languages, all happened in the last 10,000 years. And only in the previous century or so, has electricity been adopted worldwide.
Yeah.
It is undisputed that the pace of scientific advancement is accelerating. If you were to teleport someone from the year 500 to 1 millennium later, they wouldn't notice much of a difference. Sure, the nights look cooler, the language sounds weird, but nothing mind-blowing. Now try teleporting someone from 200 years ago to now. They'd assume they landed on a different planet, full of moving paintings and horseless chariots. Continuing the same trend of discoveries, we shall, in the near future, reach a point called the technological singularity.
Okay, so before we continue, I want to make a point about this because my dad and I actually had a conversation about this. There's a lot of people who will try to make the argument that social media is inherently a bad thing. And I think there's 100% a conversation to be had about the effect that social media has on young people, right? Especially who place too much of their own self-worth and value in social media, their perception of themselves online, or worrying too much about how other people look. Definitely damaging. There's definitely work that needs to be done there. But this guy talks about the rate of change and how much technology has accelerated and how much better things have gotten. Just think about how much tech has improved in the last 10 years. Imagine taking a gaming computer from 10 years ago. It'd be like worth $200 now. It'd be a joke. And that was just 10 years ago. And this guy's, making all the comparisons with, how long it took us to get to electricity or fire, or the wheel, or all that stuff, right? So I don't usually like to take pessimistic views. I usually like to be pretty optimistic. I fully believe that even though social media does a lot of harm now, I think ultimately it's a good thing. And I think just like with anything, it's going to take us a while as a culture, as a society, and as people to figure out the best way to navigate it. The problem is the way we evolve and figure things out is going to take a long time for us to adapt to and change and improve than it will for the technology to improve. So I do truly believe that even though right now it's not great, I think 100 years from now we'll be in a better position, I like to think, than we're in now with stuff like social media. And maybe maybe social media will be a joke in 100 years and it'll be something astronomically way better. But I like to think that we're headed in the right direction in terms of like handling stuff like that.
A term coined by the futurist.
Because if you don't I don't want to live life thinking otherwise. I think that's just kind of pointless. you can be pessimistic. There's a difference between being skeptical and being pessimistic. And I think the latter is just pessimistic.
Rakers while future reach a point called the technological singularity. A term coined by the futurist, Rakers while. This represents the moment in which the intellectual capacity of artificial intelligence surpasses that of the human brain, and that will turn everything upside down. It is important to mention that this might very well happen during your lifetime. Several polls have been conducted within the scientific community, suggesting that the singularity might take place somewhere between 2040 and 2050. So, what will happen with humanity during and after this point of no return?
So the point is just that technology will, like the artificial intelligence that we will create, will learn how to learn, and it will be smarter than us, I guess is the point. Remember when the first iPhone was introduced, the load times took forever, but everyone was so amazed? Yeah, well, I've seen the TikToks come up on my For You page, clips from the first iPhone Apple event, right? Where Steve Jobs is up there, look, you just take your finger and you slide to unlock it. And that was like revolutionary, not having like manual keys built into your phone, having the keyboard come up on the phone and having you type on it, having a full screen phone. That was unthought of. That seems like basic knowledge now, but 10 years ago, or whenever the first iPhone got released, that was revolutionary. Nobody had thought like that before.
Let's find out. Once the first artificial intelligence reaches the level of human intelligence, it will only be a matter of months or even days before its intellectual capacity surpasses that of the entire human race, all because of exponential improvements. As argued by Stephen Hawking, this superintelligent AI poses the greatest threat to human existence, and trying to contain it will almost certainly not work. Imagine if a 2-year-old tries to stop you from going outside of your house. That's how an AI would see humans. But should humans even try to stop the AI? If humanity doesn't pose a threat, the artificial intelligence won't bother harming it, depending on its moral compass.
Yeah, this is where it gets to an interesting point. This is what gets interesting. I think it depends largely on how we code AI. If our goal is to code AI that's closest and most closely resembles like that of like the caveman brain, because here's the problem with like this analogy and this fear of AI taking over. What this assumes is that the AI would have the same sort of like caveman conquer mentality that human beings do inherently, which is like we just want to own everything, take everything over. It's all ours. I just want to hold it. And what we don't know is maybe there's some superior, higher level of thinking where it's not just conquer, push everyone else out of the way, and this is all mine, it belongs to me. Everyone that's not like me sucks, right? Like that's a very human nature way of looking at things. And maybe that isn't the answer. And so I'm playing with really weird abstract hypotheticals right now, but if this is true, maybe artificial intelligence will teach us something about morality in general. I don't know if that point made any sense or if that's even an interesting point to make.
It might even decide to help humans. And this is where the good part starts. Imagine an incorruptible and correct ruler who will always do what is right. No more pointless wars, no more poverty.
Yeah, but right is subjective too. Right's subjective to what people think, right? The law is supposed to be what's right and wrong. The court of public opinion often doesn't align with that.
Justice will prevail. The exponential increase of intelligence will also allow for advancements in the field of nanotechnology. Swarms of nanobots could be inserted into the human body that
Dude, I'm excited about shit like this.
Most of the diseases, cancer and circulatory.
I want to be able to put like a chip in my forearm that allows me to lift like 200 pounds with my pinky. That would be sick. I want to be able to do stuff like that. I want like Captain America to be like a thing. That would be dope. And I think we'll get there. There was a video I watched recently. I was at my dad's place and it was like 15 crazy futuristic technologies that we're not actually that far away from or something like that. And it was this dude who had almost stepped into what looked like an Iron Man suit, but you could still see his full front with all his clothes on, so he wasn't completely inside. And there was like robotic stuff attached to his arms and he could lift 200 pounds of weight with very minimal effort. And he could just like walk up to something and pick it up because the machine that's attached to him would help him lift it. And it was like pretty simple mobility and all that, but it looked ridiculous with all this stuff like around him. You know, as technology is going to get better, all that was around him, that Iron Man shit, it's just going to be like a chip that goes in your forearm or something that goes in your brain. And you'll just be like, pretty soon you won't even have to touch it. You'll just be, and you'll just be telekinetically, whatever the fuck that's called, moving shit.
Issues being few.
I'll try to stop pausing the video.
Theoretically, cells could also be manipulated.
Yeah, just
in
China
human
equals
body
bad.
that would aid with the prevention of most of the diseases, cancer and circulatory issues being few of the many. Theoretically, cells could also be manipulated by nanobots so that they never die, resulting in immortality. Another important area which will be improved upon is gene editing. Through careful manipulation, first all the genetic disorders would be wiped out. The next thing to come would be genetic improvements, such as higher intelligence, better health, longer fingers. But that would of course create additional problems, such as
Could we do that, yeah?
the world being divided between simple and genetically improved humans. Expect class wars. But the gene editing period could come to an end as quickly as it appeared. That is because of the technology of mind uploading. If computers become sufficiently capable, they could scan the human brain and replicate it into digital form. And from this point on, the possibilities become endless. No more need for physical bodies. All the human consciousness will be living in some sort of internet. No more hunger, no more physical suffering, no more biological death. But what a—
Wait, that's interesting, dude. That gets into this like weird shit where it's like, are we already in a simulation? Like, what if that's some like weird soul disconnecting from your body type of stuff? Like, what if who you are isn't attached to your physical thing? Like, what if you could just be like all of you that's up in your head on like a device that could then roam the internet, except the internet in this make-believe scenario is not just limited to the world because we can make it unlimited. You could just add more, you could just download more RAM and make more space. Like you could just add more plots of land. That's another thing that I don't want to get into that. My brain's going like 1,000,000 miles an hour right now. That's kind of sick.
About mental health. Several mental illnesses are caused by chemical imbalances in the brain.
I don't know if I really like all this shit though, because again, this could just be a boomer mentality, right? This could just be the way we think now, and this mentality is going to seem stupid 200 years from now. But I'm not talking about like disabilities and diseases and all that shit, but there's like a beauty in people being different. If we just got rid of stupid people, you know what I'm saying? We're describing like what was that episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob's like, "Hi, wonderful weather we're having," you know, where we all just become that. And you walk in, you're like, "Hi, honey, I'm home. What's for dinner? Is that salad I smell? You know I love your salad." And like there's no issues anymore and everything just like, yeah, we wouldn't know that that's bad because that's not, you know what I mean? I feel like there's beauty in stupid people. There's beauty in some diversity. You know what I mean?
The human mind is connected to the body and all its sensory organs. If we convert it to a digital form, there might be a chance that everyone will become...
Wait a minute. Yeah, how would I feel shit though? Because like, if my brain, getting back to the previous thing, if my brain just exists on a chip on the internet, how would I simulate the good shit? You know what I mean? Well, you wouldn't need to eat food because you wouldn't need to supply your body with anything. You would just be powered by electricity or something. You know what I'm talking about, chat?
Insane. The concept of time itself might be lost, as a digital mind could perceive reality millions of times faster than the biological brain. And that could lead to some horrible results, like being imprisoned for millions of years, even an eternity, without the possibility of dying.
I love how millions of years is just equivalent to like infinite. That's how little human beings can wrap their head around the idea of infinity. It's just like millions of years, you know, like infinity.
But on the bright side, the digital beings can have an almost free reign over their perception of reality. Think of a game, but completely immersive, where only your imagination is the limit. Your most desirable fantasy will become your subjective reality. This really starts to sound like an ad for a VR headset from 2050. But at the same time,
now for only 200 money,
we take as granted now will be gone. No more organized society, no cities, no food, no nothing. Most likely the future civilization will build...
Quite the opposite. It would be everything. Everything you've ever dreamed or wanted would be... This is where I have this like trouble understanding. Like I get how dystopian and creepy and evil and horrible this sounds because it's like, oh, we're gonna get rid of green grass and trees and nobody's gonna walk outside anymore. And yeah, there's beauty in that, but like how much better could your existence be if you could give yourself those same sort of dopamine hits that you get from exercise and going outside and doing all this shit? Imagine if you like removed some of like the human experience, like the bad stuff that requires work. And imagine if you like removed all of that and you could just like you wouldn't have like a dopamine like gauge in your head. Everything would just feel awesome and you could just, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Build a Dyson sphere around the sun to...
Like I could play COD for hours in this world, in this make-believe scenario, because like I would never get upset.
Collect the energy used to power...
But I'd also have aimbot and so would everybody else.
The planet-sized computer that hosts all the consciousnesses. This could also explain the apparent lack of aliens in the universe. What if all civilizations that live long enough get to the stage of mind uploading, and after anchoring themselves close to their home star, stop expanding outwards? Instead, they would live for the rest of time inside their greater internet. Since this offers almost limitless possibilities, what would motivate someone to explore the outer universe? The answer is most likely nothing. And that might also be the reason for why humans haven't yet found any sign of intelligent life, and might never will. And in this post-singularity world, where no suffering and only complete control over one's imagination will exist, what will be the meaning of life? Now one has many answers.
You wouldn't care about that though. You wouldn't care what the meaning of life is because everything would just be like, everything would just be awesome. It's weird to think about, man. And then that gets you thinking like, what if we're already in the metaverse? What if this is it? What if we're already here? What if we've made it past this already and we're...
Family, accomplishment, God, knowledge. One has many answers.
That was tough as shit. Dude smoking a cigar while smoking a $100 bill. That's Griff Tuck. That's Griff when he buys a Doodle Bob NFT. He's just sitting there again.
Accomplishment, God, knowledge. What about when everything you can wish for can become true? Will that be enough to satisfy your desire for a meaning of life? Or will it make you crave one even more? Perhaps the answer will be hedonism, as people will numb themselves with never-ending pleasure. Or it might be the total opposite, nihilism. If people will realize that they live without a purpose and are no longer chained by their biological rules, they could decide that such an existence is pointless, and end it once and for all.
Griff, let's go.
Who knows, Maybe such is the fate of all civilizations, to reach the level of gods only to voluntarily cease existence. Or they shall somehow transcend space and time, and reach true divine levels. The possibilities are countless, and you are lucky to have been born now and possibly experience the singularity with your own eyes. But until then, we need to continue developing Skynet.
Great video. I think I talked more than this video was, and I apologize for that. But man, that was a good video. Thank you, Griff. Or I'm sorry, Kelton, for linking that. Appreciate it. That was a good video. Man, it really it makes your mind twirl, dude. Bam! Makes your mind dance. That's fun.